Alpha
Omega. Spellwork Mastery.
Here's something you don't know. I mean, Leslie has some really interesting stories from her past. You know, she's told you about Yuki before, and I'm sure we'll get her to tell about that again from her time in Okinawa, the Okinawan shaman who she met.
Mm-hmm.
But what she hasn't told you about yet was the time that she studied with Manny Two Feathers.
Right.
Sundance Chief Manny Two Feathers.
Yes.
Tell us something about that, Leslie.
Manny Two Feathers was an amazing man. He taught me more about the Red Road than, well, he taught me everything I know about it. And Manny was of the opinion that, well, he was a classic liberal. He didn't think it mattered what your skin color was or what your genetics were. If you felt called to a particular faith, you should go practice it. And so he, to that end, had a tribe called Métis. Now, M-E-T-I-S.
Mm-hmm.
It's French. He and his wife lived...
It means mixed.
Yes. Oh, and that's exactly what his tribe was. Mixed bloods. And for him, this was kind of difficult because his mixed blood was very different from his wife's. His wife was part Canadian native and English. Manny was part Aztec, part Shoshone, and more than anything else, he just really had a difficult relationship with his white side of his family versus the Indian side of his family.
I see.
And there was always this internal conflict between his Catholic upbringing and his native upbringing.
I see.
Because the two households were separate over a divorce. And so there was this fight. And so there was always this very...
So one native parent and then one Caucasian parent.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That must have been tough.
So it was very tough.
No wonder he created a tribe called Métis.
Yes. And so what his idea was is he wanted everyone who wanted to study to be able to. And to that end, I was his guinea pig. He tested a lot of stuff out on me.
Oh, wow.
But it was good because me, with my anthropological training, we helped fill in the gaps for each other.
Oh, wonderful.
So when it came time for him to design his Sundance.
Now, this is very interesting because, you know, we're right now involved in this process of the resurrection of the ancient magic of Jesus and the recreation and the what do you call it? The
revitalization?
The revitalization of this ancient magical...
The revival.
Yeah, the revival of this ancient magical system. And so in many ways, from what I understand, Manny was very much bringing about a revival of ancient traditions as well, right?
Yes, he was very interested in that because he recognized that, you know, the hardest thing for people to understand is that in the 1970s, it was still a stigma to be Native American. There were a lot, you know, bands were writing songs and they were trying to make everything okay, but, you know, people still looked down on Native Americans in a lot of parts of the United States. And so during the 70s, the children of the elders did not want to learn Native ways.
All right.
Okay? But there were all these white hippies who did want to learn.
Oh, wow.
So what did the elders do? They taught who wanted to learn.
Wow.
And so then you have all these white hippies who are actually the ones who carry the knowledge because they were the ones who were trained by the elders, not the kids.
Wow.
And now the kids have got heartburn over the fact that they have to go talk to this white hippie chick to learn what they should have learned from their own grandfather.
Oh, wow.
And this was a lot of what Manny was working on dispelling as well. He was a place where everyone could come and nobody had to feel sideways about anything because everyone was mixed. And that's what he tried to emphasize. Everyone is mixed. Even Native Americans who claim to be pure are mixed. They're mixed from the different Native American tribes. Purity is largely a goal and not an actuality.
Well, here in the United States, there is the requirement to become a tribal member. I mean, in different tribes, it's very different. There's a different threshold, but it's a very low threshold, usually like 25% Native American blood or something like that.
Oh, even
or
lower
even
than
less.
that.
Right.
Now the Lone Pine Paiute Shoshone Reservation, where I was working, they didn't believe in that sort of actual genetic testing. They said, we're Indians.
Right.
We rely on oral tradition. If you say that your dad was Indian and was here, and okay, we'll go back through our records. We're not going to blood test you. Go back through the records and see what we find. But it was based on word of mouth.
Right.
And there are different opinions about that. When it comes to cultural appropriation.
Now, we had that story in my family too.
Oh, of course.
Well, because my family comes from Oklahoma. And Oklahoma at the time when the family moved from Missouri to Oklahoma was still Indian territory. And so late Griffin, my great-great-grandfather, settled there together with the Cherokee woman.
Right.
At least this is the story that is told in my family. So that gives me at least as much Native American blood, and maybe even a little bit more than Elizabeth Warren has.
I think we all have more than Elizabeth Warren.
I don't claim it though, because it's a story from the family.
Right.
But we Americans truly are all mixed.
Yes, we are. I hope that helps.
Leslie, as long as we're talking about Manny, tell us something about the Sundance.
Sundance.
What you can tell us.
Okay. So what I can tell you about Sundance is that Manny's was very strict in some ways and very modern in others. It was strict in that his Sundance took place on summer solstice.
Oh boy.
When you do Sundance,
that's hot.
Yeah. You begin dancing when the sun rises. You're standing out around, you're in the dance circle with the pole, and you wait for the sun to rise. And when the sun rises, then you begin dancing and whistling. And you dance and you whistle until the sun sets.
Wow.
No food, no water. Then you go to bed after a sweat. And then you get up and you do it again.
Wow. And then they actually pierce their chests, right?
Yes, they do. After all this fasting and dehydration,
right,
Manny practiced piercing.
Oh, wow.
And we erected a 65-foot tall cottonwood tree in the center of the dance circle. We had
65 foot high.
Wow. It was amazing.
Oh my goodness!
It took a dozen fellas and a D9 to get it into place.
Oh my goodness! A D9? What's a D9?
A D9 is a type of bulldozer that's very large.
Oh my goodness! Okay.
And so when it's time, you can be pierced one of two ways. Well, 3 or 4 ways. You can be pierced in the chest, and then you fall backwards and the skin tears, and that's it. I happened to be there for the most extreme stuff because we really had some hardcore people who wanted to do this Sundance right, and they had a vision. And when you have a vision that you're going to do Sundance, it's the most powerful thing ever because there's 7 years of preparation, there's 7 years of participation, and then there's 7 years of teaching that you're required to do after. It's a 21-year commitment.
Wow.
And the fasting and the praying and the learning how to dance in the hot sun without water.
My goodness.
It's incredibly challenging.
Now, only men, right, can dance?
This is where Manny was liberal.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Traditionally, women do not participate in Sundance because women go through their own Sundance in the process of giving birth.
Oh, wow.
Birth is the most painful thing a woman ever does. She doesn't need to Sundance. Men have Sundance because they don't have birth. Now we live in a culture where there are many women who don't give birth. Ergo, Manny opened it up to women.
Wow.
Although the women because of our bodies, he only allowed the women to pierce here on their arms.
Oh.
Because, women have these beautiful bodies that must be preserved.
Wow.
And so, piercing here was okay for women.
Now and they would actually dance until the skin on their chest broke, right?
Right. And I'll give you two examples.
They couldn't just take themselves off of the tree.
No. Let me tell you about this guy.
Please.
There was a fellow who he cried for a vision, and he had a strong vision, and he wanted to be an eagle dancer. Now, there's sun dancers, and there's sun dancers who are eagle dancers, and he opted for eagle. And what that means is that when the time comes for you to be pierced, you're pierced in 4 places, and then you are hoisted up and suspended, exactly like the illustrations of the Pawnee done by George Catlin in 1886, if anybody's interested in looking this up. He did it the easy way. He just pierced his front and passed out, right? No, not this dancer. It was the most amazing. I'm getting chills just talking about it.
Wow.
He was pierced in the front and in the back. Manny always used surgical gloves and alcohol and sterile scalpels. The dancers brought their own bones, and then Manny would cut them, insert the bone, tie the lashes, and then 2 of the supporters that came with this dancer lifted him up into the tree while with his fans he flapped his arms. And he is to flap his arms and fly until the skin breaks and he falls.
Wow, what a sacrifice.
We counted 1 minute. We counted 2 minutes. We counted 3 minutes. We counted 5 minutes. We counted 7 minutes. We counted 10 minutes. We started to worry about him. 2 supporters grabbed his legs and tried to pull him off. 2 men, 2 grown men, lifted their feet off the ground while this man is still suspended and flapping, and his skin does not tear.
Oh my goodness.
And so these men jerked him off.
Oh my goodness.
And pulled him off, and the skin went. And they carried him off.
Wow.
He had to cry for his vision.
Wow.
The next dancer who went up was pierced. He leaned back. He fell down. It was as easy as if his skin was made of tissue paper.
Wow.
And Manny cuts them the same every time.
Wow.
This is what makes a sun dance chief so good, is his skill at inserting the bones. The eagle dancer really had to suffer.
Wow.
And it's the depth of your suffering that makes your passage through the rest of life easier.
My goodness.
And there were other hard dances too. There was one dancer who opted to drag buffalo skulls in the style of some Northern Plains Indians. And so he had 4 lashes put in his back. One here and one here, and then the same on the other side. And so he was lashed 4 times. And so then they put on a buffalo skull, and he walks around the dance circle until it tears. Well, he made 1 lap and it didn't tear, so they attached another buffalo skull. And when they put on the buffalo skull, it's teeth down, so that it looks like these skulls are dancing along behind as he's pulling himself like he's skiing, because it really is hard to drag. And there's blood streaming down his back, but he can't say a word. Cannot scream, cannot cry. He's crying for his vision. His crying is internal.
Wow.
We put 5 skulls, and finally his daughter sat on one of the skulls in order to get it to break.
Oh my goodness.
And yet there are people who will go up and they dance to the tree, and they get their lashes on, and then they back up and And it just breaks immediately.
Wow.
And it is the decision of the Creator as to when that will break. When have you really suffered enough?
Oh my goodness.
It is the decision of God. And everyone can see. Everyone can see how much suffering is required of you. It's...
My goodness.
Manny was incredible. He took the Sundance Oath and it became his life.
Fantastic.
He was really a beautiful soul.
Leslie, tell us about the Heyokas.
The Heyokas, oh, the crazy ones. Okay, so we had some Heyoka, and again, Manny's Sundance was intense, so we had some really intense Heyoka. The Heyoka do everything backwards.
Oh, wow.
So if you watch Little Big Man, there's a guy there who becomes Heyoka because Little Big Man steals his wife and he goes crazy. And so he bathes with dirt and dries with water, and he rides his horse backwards, and he walks backwards everywhere, and he parts his hair wrong, and he eats, he just does everything he can backwards, because that's what Heyoka are. They're backwards. And the importance of the Heyoka is it's to help build your, I don't know, it's like your spiritual intestinal fortitude or something. It's like, well, I'll just give you an example. Okay, so this is a different Sundance of Manny's in a different place, a different year. And this is just the regular part of the dancing where, we're drumming, and they're dancing. And when they're dancing, they blow these little eagle whistles that are made out of eagle bone. And it's a little shrill whistle, and it just goes while they're dancing. Well, this dries you out in a hurry, you can imagine.
Right.
Okay, so thirst is the first suffering that arrives to your Sundancer. And so the Heyoka come, and the Heyoka show up with a jug of water, a big wet bucket of water.
Oh, wow.
And the Heyoka goes to each dancer and dances and goes, ha, 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 and pours it on top of himself.
Oh, no,
and
so
dances,
mean.
And then drinks it and lets the water just splash and fall all over him. And then goes, ha, 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 and then
So
runs
mean.
off. Oh, the Heyoka are so mean.
Wow.
But they represent some very important principle. And that is the principle of sticking to your guns. Because you've got the sacred clown. He's half black, half white, looks absolutely ridiculous. He's doing everything backwards. But the Heyoka has got a hard row to hoe, and nobody wants to be Heyoka.
Right.
Because the Heyoka, that once you choose that path, it's just like being a Sundancer. You're really on that path. And there's a lot of parts of being a Heyoka that are tough work. And pretty much the only good part about being a Heyoka is getting to be an asshole in front of everybody else.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, but yeah, the Heyoka are there to represent society at large. Oh, you're being so silly. Look at me. I'm having lots of water. You don't have to suffer. But the Sundancer knows, oh yes, because it is only through suffering that one comes to one's true realization.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Leslie. That's
you're
absolutely
welcome.
beautiful. Now, in closing about this part, I'd like to know, I'd like to actually tell on you a little bit. Remember, Les, we gave you the homework assignment to do some string spells. Well.
So the same red string that I used for all the other spells, I used to wrap this. And these are two types of sage. This one is Paiute sage, and this one is Shoshone sage. They're both from the same plant, but having been grown in different environments, they look completely different, even though they're actually not. And the same can be said of the people as well. The Shoshone and the Paiute are essentially from the same tribe. It's just that they have chosen different lifestyles and thus separated from each other.
Now, what exactly would you use a sage bundle like this for? I know you find them in New Age bookstores, but what's the purpose of it?
The purpose is for cleaning and protection. Actually, a sage bundle accomplishes about the same thing that the Kabbalistic cross and the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram accomplish in Golden Dawn magic.
Interesting. You know, I'd like to interject something into that too, and that is that the power of genius loci, the power of place, and the power of the egregore of a place have a lot to do with that too. Because I actually have worked with sage bundles a lot and with frankincense. And I've noticed that sage bundles, if you use them in Europe, they don't work well.
Yeah, they're not very effective.
They're not. Instead, frankincense in Europe is extremely effective.
Yes.
And then here in the United States, frankincense is not nearly as effective as sage bundles.
Right.
Go figure.
It has to do with the magical egregore of the place. Now, as long as we're on sage bundles, I want to show you how to properly use a sage bundle, because a lot of people have a lot of trouble with them, find that they have trouble getting them going and keeping them going. So the first thing when you get your sage bundle, and I'm going to use the Shoshone sage because it burns more predictably than the Paiute. The very first thing you want to do is find where the bundle ends. You see, the bundle doesn't end here. The bundle ends here. Now, these crosses are protective. Everywhere you find crosses, I've traveled a lot. Crosses are always protective. Always protective. And so the red, the crosses, the sage itself, all of it is for protection and cleansing and purification.
Fantastic.
Now, when you find the end, what you want to do is you want to lift it off, okay? And your sage bundle is going to crumble a little bit. Don't be alarmed. You know, it's a dry herb. It will do that. And see how the string starts to come off? You want to take the string off of your sage bundle before you light it. Please, please, take the string off before you light it. Cotton string smells terrible when it's burning, and it really interferes with the properties of the sage. So you don't actually have to take it all the way off. Just take it down to where it's not going to be a hassle anymore. All right. Now, how are we going to light this? Well, you don't light it like a candle, that's for sure. You want to turn it upside down like this, okay? And then you light it. Now, on the flame, I don't know how many of you remember this from science class, but a candle flame is hottest up at the very top.
Right.
Right? Don't put it in the flame. It's not hot in the flame. It's hot above the flame. So when you're lighting it, see how I'm not letting the flame touch it? And it's sparking up and catching on fire anyway? You don't want the flame to actually touch. You just want to get this good and hot. All right. See how the smoke is pouring? And this lights it better because heat rises, and I'm imbuing the entire bundle with the heat. Okay?
Right.
Now, here's the most important thing. When you're using the sage bundle, make a motion like this. Because what I'm doing is I'm forcing air into the end here. See the burning end? When you push it forward, see, watch. Oh, this is great. You can really see it. See how when I push forward, it makes it burn more brightly?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay? This is why you make this motion with the sage bundle. It's also a very protective motion, right? So if you're smudging walls, you go like this. And you're carving and you're pushing all of this. And that way, your sage bundle stays nice and lit and it doesn't burn out. Anytime your sage bundle looks like it's getting ready to burn out, you turn it upside down, let the heat rise up. Also, you can blow on it. And when you blow on it, you can direct the air more. Now, if I'm going to smudge you, rather than making these sharp movements, right, because I don't want to accidentally get anything on him.
Cover me full of ash.
So when you're doing this, you know, just go very gently. You don't have to get close to the person. just get about you want to stay anywhere from 6 to 8
Smells
inches
very
away
nice.
from
Very,
them.
very nice, in fact.
Oh,
And this sage you gathered yourself, right?
right. This was gathered on the Lone Pine Paiute Shoshone Reservation with permission of the elders when I lived there.
Right.
Now, the sage bundle, if it's been cut and processed correctly, you'll see that it has a nice stick on the end of it. This was because, the Shoshone just stick that right in the dirt.
Right.
And then whenever the serum, when you stick it up like this, it will naturally burn itself out very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the purification is still needed, it'll burn.
Aha.
It's like Palo Santo. It will burn until it's no longer needed. And the sage bundle has like a little mind of its own. And, sometimes a sage bundle like this, it'll burn a little bit and then, it's all over with. And then sometimes I'll come back and it's burned all the way down and the cotton has caught fire and there's just a little bit of, stuff left at the end.
The Illuminati have cast a powerful spell on the peoples of the earth. And while many still sleepwalk like zombies in a trance, they have prepared everything nearly to enslave humanity under a new world empire.
Of our hearts, the power of our magic, and the strength of our numbers, we still can break the spell put on our people.
We're just a ragtag bunch of magicians armed only with the power of our prayer and the power of our faith and the power of our magic. But whether you be Christian, Jew, Wiccan, pagan, magician, shamanic practitioner, or any other stripe of spiritual warrior of humanity against this evil falls to us.
So we, who now, to stand with us against the rising darkness, because you and others like you're our only hope.
Have you ever wanted to gain real magical abilities so you can become the master of your destiny?
Do you wish you could get the ancient secret key for free so you can build the life of your dreams?
If you've wanted more out of life, to become all that you can be, physically, romantically, financially, spiritually, then you need to take action and get this right now.
That's right, and for free, but it won't be available for much longer.
So go right now to thescienceofmiracles.com and get started. Achieve the prosperous life you want for yourself. Gain ultimate life mastery.
Are you familiar with the Rosicrucian with what's his name? He's popular in the States. He's the president or the from the Golden Dawn. What's his name?
Oh.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
Have David Griffin.
I saw an email yesterday that he sent out about there's a magical war going on.
Demons of the infernal realm. All of them. There is really a magical war going on. There is a guy called David Griffin who is heading all these magicians.
David Griffin is S.L. McGregor Mather's present successor.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
I'm Golden Dawn Imperator David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
David Griffin.
Now David Griffin.
There's a magical war going on.
So there is really a magical war going on.
Alpha
Omega.